Bloco de notas. Ok. Let's see if this works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up that link. See if it's going to work. So what we're going to see is share our link. Let's just see if it works. It works. Okay, you're there. So what I'm going to do. Sorry about that. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, 10-second delay. I can't see the. Yeah, I can see you now.
Hello?
I can hear you, but I cannot see the chat. Yeah, I can hear you now.
I wrote in the chat.
Oh, there.
Okay, I received it right now.
Okay. Can you read?
Yeah. Hi, hello, Neil.
Alright. So what we can do, you can start your class, you know, make believe that you're right now in the cleaner class, and just start. And I'm gonna ask you questions, so you just can get the hang of just
Interacting,
something like that, you know, so you
Okay.
can know when they're going to ask you something, and you can go to the middle of the slides.
Should I take this off?
Yeah, you can take it off. That's fine. Yeah.
Good.
Better than that.
Okay, thanks. But
Remember there is this lake? I just learned
Right.
thanks now.
okay, I'll begin.
Okay, you can start on it, let's live.
And this, I'll start here where I am. What? So, would prefer versus would rather. Would rather is used with verbs. Would prefer is used with nouns and verbs. So, would rather, que preferia, is used with verbs. E essa também preferia, mas would prefer é só com substantivos e verbos. Mas would rather é somente com verbos. Só verbos. Look at the examples. Examples. Would you prefer cheeseburgers or hot dogs for lunch? Você preferia cheeseburgers ou cachorro-quente no almoço? Okay? No verb. There's no verb here, so we use prefer. I cannot use would rather. With would rather, we need a verb. Like this example. Would you rather have cheeseburgers or hot dogs for lunch? Você preferia ter cheeseburgers ou cachorro-quente no almoço? Okay, rather também. Yeah, well, would rather, I translate them both as preferia. Because that's what they mean. Significa eu preferia, os dois. Mas a coisa que é diferente é que would rather é só com verbos. Would.
You need to write it in.
No.
No.
Okay.
Just keep going. Once you enter it, you just keep going.
Okay, okay.
Just keep talking as loud.
So one more time, look at the three examples. Would prefer with nouns, substantivos. Would you prefer cheeseburgers or hot dogs for lunch? Okay. Now with a verb. Would you prefer to have? Remember infinitive. Prefer with infinitive. Would you prefer to have cheeseburgers or hot dogs for lunch? And now would rather, only the base form, have. Would you rather have cheeseburgers or hot dogs for lunch? Would you rather have? And the negative form. To create the negative form of would rather or would prefer, simply put not in front of the verb. Ok? Para criar a forma negativa, para os dois, would rather or would prefer, que significa preferia, simplesmente colocar not em frente do verbo. Look, I'd rather not talk about it. Eu prefiro não falar sobre isso. Eu preferia não falar sobre isso. I would rather not talk about it. Would rather, base form, would rather not talk. Prefer, we still use the infinitive. Vai usar o infinitivo, mas só not primeiro. I'd prefer not to talk about it. Eu prefiro não falar sobre isso. Ou preferia não falar sobre isso. Okay? Sempre would? No. This D is not always would. Não é sempre would. Nós vamos ver depois que had better vai usar a contração de de, mas significa had. E você vai saber disso por causa do better. You'd better pay attention. É melhor você prestar atenção. You had better. You'd better. Mas eu sei que é de por causa do better. Uma frase inteira. Uma ideia completa. You'd better, or we'd better. Então essa é a contração, mesma contração, mas significa had e não would. Posso dizer, I would rather not talk about that? Yeah, eu prefiro não falar sobre isso. I would rather not talk about that. Correct. Very good. Back to the slides. So we have some exercises. Practice. Choose would rather or would prefer to complete the sentences. I to stay home today. It's too cold outside. Okay. Key. This is key. To stay. What do you remember? When do we use the infinitive? Look here. We have the infinitive with prefer. So, I to stay home today. It's too cold outside. I would prefer or would rather. With the infinitive, it's to. Sorry, with prefer, it's to, so I would prefer. I would prefer to stay home today. It's too cold outside. Eu preferiria ficar em casa hoje. It's too cold. É frio demais lá fora. É frio demais na rua. Okay. Would rather. Okay. Would prefer because of the infinitive. The infinitivo vai usar would prefer. So the answer is would prefer, number 1. Very good. Very good job, Kim. Well, Kim, it's would prefer, Kim. Josh, would rather, correct. Excuse me, would prefer. Josh would prefer. Yes, would prefer. Because of 2. Let's go to number 2. Okay. You study Spanish or German. Again, look here. We have the base form. So the base form, there's no to. It's a question. How do we formulate this question? Would you prefer study Spanish or would you prefer or would you rather study Spanish? Okay? No to. So what do we use? Would you rather? Okay? No to. We don't have the infinitive. Would you rather study Spanish or German? Would you rather study Spanish or German? Okay. For number 2, would you you need 2 options? Yeah, we have 2 options. Would prefer or would rather. And this is would you rather. It's rather because with rather we use the base form. Começa aqui, vai usar a forma base. Não vai ter tu como rather. Would you rather study? Okay, 2 is would you rather. Let's go back to the presentation. Would you rather? Yes, very good, Kim. On to 3. Jane not cook tonight. She's tired. Okay, Jane not cook tonight. She's tired. Again, we need to look for the infinitive. No infinitive. Okay, it's negative, but we don't have the infinitive. So, is it prefer or rather? What do you think? Jane would prefer not cook, or Jane would rather not cook? Let's see. Would rather, because we don't have the infinitive. Let's see. Number 3. Would rather not cook. Yes, right. So Kim, you're doing well. Josh, let's try the next one, Josh. Okay, let's see. 4. You pizza or pasta for dinner. Okay, there's no verb. There's no verb here. Pizza or pasta for dinner. No verb. So which one do we use? It's a question. Would you Prefer pizza or pasta? Would you rather pizza or pasta? Let's go back. I'll help you. Look at this. Would you prefer cheeseburgers? No verb. So what's the answer? Would you, no verb, we use prefer. Would you prefer? Would you prefer pizza or pasta for dinner? Let's take a look. Would you prefer? Yes, Kim. Would you rather? Okay, Josh. Would you prefer? Let's go back. Let's go back. Vamos voltar e eu vou ler todos. Eu vou ler depois vocês. E presta atenção quando tem infinitivo e quando não tem infinitivo. Number 1. I would prefer to stay home today. It's too cold outside. Now you.
That's great. It was fun.
Yeah, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose track of time if I do that too much of that.
Of course, I think it's a little bit confusing because everybody was quick English, right, on the chat. If you click on the chat, everything was yellow, right?
Right.
But of course, you're going to have their names and you won't have that. Can you put on the chat just for me to check?
Sure.
So you won't have all yellow.
Yeah.
You will have their names here without the yellow box.
Right.
But it's good that you call them their names so they know who makes mistakes and who did well or who not. And they're gonna try to guess, especially on the quizzes, and you can do that. You can just give hints, and if you have the track of time, sometimes you can go back and look here, and then you can re-explain, and you have to use infinitive or not. If you're okay with time. If you are in a rush, probably just remember you have to use to, and so that's it. You don't need to always go back.
I read it in English, so I didn't practice in Portuguese.
Yeah.
How do you translate this?
No, yeah, eu preferiria. Preferiria.
Always.
What is it? Yeah, I would prefer, preferiria, I would rather, preferiria. Yeah, it's both the same thing. Yeah. Os dois. Would you say that would rather é mais formal do que would prefer?
I'd rather stay home.
É mais usual.
I prefer to stay home. I prefer. Maybe.
Com would é mais usado would rather. You prefer é sem would quase, né? I prefer.
Yeah, well you can't say I. Well, you can say I prefer.
Yeah.
But it's a different idea. Like.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
What preferia ou prefiro is the idea.
I prefer. Preferiria. Remember to say eu preferiria.
Preferiria.
Yeah, preferiria.
Preferiria. Preferiria.
Because there are two R's.
Preferiria.
Yeah.
Preferiria.
Yeah.
But
But it's fine. I think it's fine. You're doing
okay, what's prefere fazer? What do you prefer to do, or what would you prefer? They're really about the same idea.
Yeah.
What would you prefer to do? What do you prefer to do?
Yeah.
What would you prefer to do is more common because like it just is.
Yeah.
Que você prefere fazer? I use preferir. It's just much easier to say in Portuguese than preferiria.
What is easier?
Prefiro from.
Eu prefiro.
Yeah, it's much easier to say that than preferiria.
Yeah. You can say prefiro and preferiria.
Yeah, preferiria.
Yeah, we have two R's here.
Right, preferiria.
Ou que é igual a eu ia preferir. Que é mais informal, né?
Eu ia preferir.
Preferir. Eu ia
Preferir.
Que é o verbo daí no infinitivo. Preferir. Preferir. Tá certo?
Preferir.
This is to prefer, right?
Yeah.
To prefer with would. I would prefer. It's the same.
Ia preferir.
Yeah. It's Yeah.
Preferiria.
I'm just gonna leave here this if you want. Right?
I might just say, look, it's easier for me to say prefiro. So that's what I'm going
Você pode dizer eu prefiro, sim, dá na mesma, porque a ideia é igual. Eu preferiria ou eu prefiro. Eu prefiro ir pra casa amanhã. Eu preferiria ir pra casa amanhã. É a mesma coisa. Porque eu preferiria mais formal que seria o certo, né? Mas eu prefiro fazer tal coisa todos os dias, como sendo simple present.
This would rather and would prefer, it's the same translation.
Just translate this equally. Yeah, don't worry about that. É a mesma tradução, é só um jeito diferente de falar. Okay, let me just set up something different and we're done.
I'm going to try the shirt on.
Yeah. But I think you're great with the chat. I think it's fine. Yeah.